Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and today we are starting a reading vlog. So, this will be my final installment of revisiting my past book hauls for this year. I don't know what I'm gonna do next year. I suppose I'll do it again. So I had 2 left over from 2021. I have 2 left over from 2022. I have 5 left over from 2023 at this moment. I could read more of them before the end of the year, who knows? So like, I don't know what way I'll work it. We're gonna revisit some of the books I've hauled this year, which, like, on the one hand, is that the point of this vlog series? Like, the whole point is like, girl, these have been sitting on your TBR for ages, read them. But also, like, I haven't really been reading my physical TBR at all, so like, even the new books, usually I do. So I thought, well, why don't we just go through and like read some of them? So January, I only hauled 2 books. Those have both been read. They were read before they hauled. It was the special edition of Small Miracles and the paperback edition of Small Miracles. February, I have 1 book from February that I haven't read, which is Voyage of the Damned by Frances White. I'm not going to read this, I don't think. So back you go. I don't know why, but I just don't really feel it. March. Oh, I have read every book that I hauled in March. Good for me. And I hauled a load. Oh, okay, April we have a couple. Ooh, we have Court of Wanderers, which I'm procrastinating on because I haven't heard great reviews of it, and I love the first book so much. We have To Gaze Upon Wicked Gods. There we go. The Illumicrate edition. Honestly, I don't want to read most of the Illumicrate books, which is why I canceled that subscription. Then we have The City We Became, which is actually on my December TBR. So The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin. This is on my December TBR. It was also on my November TBR, and I didn't read it. So this one fits. This fits nicely. Also, I got it in Paris, Shakespeare and Company, which also kind of makes me afraid to read it because if I read it and want to unhaul it, it's like, I have a nice stamp inside it. This follows the avatars of New York, and they are like called to fight against like some sort of monster that nobody else can see. So I think potentially we'll be reading that. Okay, May. Okay, in fairness, this actually isn't too bad because I've hauled Valor, Ruin, and Wrath. I'm not going to be reading these because of the fact Becca in the Books is doing her next book in her next series in The Faithful and the Fallen. So I'm going to reread the first book in January. So we're going to be putting those off. Then we have Dragonflight by Anne McCaffrey, which I can see I might do that. Oh, we have The Final Strife, which Cassidy bought for me. Thanks for Cassidy. We have The Angel of Crows by Catherine Addison. We have Rise of Empire, which, spoiler alert, I'm already reading that for this vlog. So I suppose we'll take that out. So this is the second book in the Rhaeria Revelation series by Michael J. Sullivan. I was pleasantly surprised by the first book because honestly, I thought I would not like it. Gonna be 100% honest. And I ended up really liking it. And the thing is, it is not actually what, like, it is, like, I don't want to say this because, like, it feels very stereotypical man fantasy. And yet I'm kind of, like, really just, like, vibing with it for some reason. July, we have some more Illumicrate books, which I'm also not going to read. Then we have The Phoenix Keeper, again, another Illumicrate book. That was from August. I'm kind of tempted by that one. See, I keep saying that I'm going to do another like a reading Illumicrate books reading vlog, but like even then I can't read all of those in one vlog. So like I can read some of them, but also I don't really want to. And then then we get to the bad month, which is September. I have Mistress of Lies, which was my second last Illumicrate book. Then we have The Art of Destiny by Wesley Chu, The Crucible of Chaos by Sebastian D. Castell. We have Seasonal Fears by Shauna Maguire. We have The Sky on Fire, which I am 50 pages in and I'm reading that for a different vlog. And then we have A Dark and Drowning Tide, which I have like down there. All of the books that I hauled in November. So yes, that is it. So we have 2 definitely. Rest I don't really know about. I'm gonna go grab some options. I am kind of tempted by A Dark and Drowning Tide. And also Phoenix Keeper. So maybe. I've chosen 2 because they're on my TBR. The Art of Destiny is also on my TBR, but I feel like I've read The Art of Prophecy for my last reading my past book hauls, so I kind of don't want to pick it for that reason. But I do have to read it this month anyway. I'm kind of intrigued by The Angel of Crows. I kind of want to read Seasonal Fears. Crucible of Chaos. No, because this is the prequel to another series. I don't want to start series. So I'm also going to rule this out. And that also means I'm ruling out Dragonflight. Though it's very short. So I'm a little sad about that, but we're going to rule out Dragonflight as well. So that leaves me with either the Art of Destiny, the Angel of Crows, or Seasonal Fears, because these either continue series or it's a standalone. I think I'll go with the Angel of Crows because obviously, like, when you're reading a sequel, it's a lot harder to talk about and it's maybe not as interesting to watch. So at least this way, I have one sequel that I'm reading. So like, if you want to tune out during that, it's fine. And then I have one book that is the start of a series and one that is a standalone. So like, also I suppose I should talk to you about this. I was gonna wait until I finish like the first book, but you know what, we might as well. Oh, I literally have one more chapter in it. Why did I stop there? Seriously, Rebecca. Yeah, I have like 15 pages left in the third book. So if you didn't know, when these were originally published, I'm not sure where they self-published or what, but they were originally actually like 6 books, whereas now they're a trilogy. But like the first book is books 1 and 2. This is book 3 and 4, which kind of makes it, because obviously I usually give a 50% update, and I'm like, should I be giving a 50% update in book 3 and like a 50% update in book 4, which would actually be like a 25%, a 50%, and a 75% update? Like, should I be doing that? Should I like, I don't know how I should be reviewing these for you, but I'm one chapter away from finishing the book 3, and as I said, I'm just like vibing with these. Very interesting reviews happen on this channel. So the first book, it follows Royce and Hadrian, and the two of them basically get given a job where someone wants them to basically bring a sword into a church, I think, or steal a sword from a church. No, bring a sword back. Steal a sword. And they take this job. It's for a suspicious amount of money, and then it turns out someone had planned to frame them for the murder of the king. And so they get captured, and the sister of the prince realizes that something fishy is up, and so she sets them free and basically instructs them to kidnap her brother and get him away from there, because she thinks that something suspicious is afoot. And so the two of them get dragged into a game of politics that they did not want to play. And so this is the second book, and we follow on from all of the first book, because basically the overarching plot is that there are people that are trying to find the lost real heir of the empire. Like, it used to be very powerful, but now like magic kind of went away, and the real heir has been lost to time, and they are trying to find out who the real one is, but also they are trying to keep the entire world from like falling into turmoil, basically. I think I'm enjoying kind of like, not necessarily, I guess, the development of the characters. We're getting a bit more of their backstory and why they are the way that they are and all of this. We kind of got some revelations about Royce's backstory, and we're kind of seeing how that affects the story. And we're also, in this one, we're kind of getting some revelations about Hadrian's backstory. I'm also enjoying that we're also getting a bit more of the princess, and I think she very much kind of just like went to the back in the last book, whereas in this one she's kind of like a bit more at the forefront. We're kind of getting a bit more development of her. Obviously she is a princess, so she has in general gotten a pretty privileged life, but obviously that doesn't mean she hasn't gone through her hardships and all that. And so we kind of follow her and kind of her wanting to learn to prove herself as well, and I'm enjoying how all of that is working out. So yeah, and like, as I said, I'm just like I'm quite invested in the plot. Like, I'm surprised. Yes, so I will see you probably when I finish this, and then I will start on one of these eventually. Hello, it's been a little while. Yes, I know I look ridiculous. I am wearing a top underneath the jumper. I'm wearing a jumper, and then I'm wearing a dressing gown over it, and I also have a blanket. I'm really cold, but it's been a while, and I haven't like read anything all month. It's not good. It's not good. But I'm gonna start reading. I have like 8 days off over the Christmas, so I'm like, reading time, guys. Reading time. But I did get a box in the post, and like, to be 100% honest, I'm purely showing this to you because look at the size of this box. It is absolutely stupidly big. And I know it's the anniversary edition of the 5 Seconds of Summer vinyl. So obviously their debut album, it turned 10 this year, and so they decided they were doing like a special like vinyl drop, and so I bought them. This is only one version of it because the other I bought off their site, and their site is absolutely terrible. They really need to work on their merch drops, because like there's literally been no updates. How stupidly large this box is for that. Yeah, look at it. They're such little babies. Yeah, so as I said, so 10th anniversary picture disc. The 2014 debut album includes hits She Looks So Perfect, Good Girls, Don't Stop, and Amnesia, and 2 bonus tracks. I remember actually getting the CD. No, I still have the CD over there. Because I had seen them supporting One Direction that year. This is turning into something completely else, different now. Yeah, I think like I knew Heartbreak Girl and I knew She Looks So Perfect beforehand. Like I think those were like maybe 2013ish was when like I kind of heard those, became familiar with them. Obviously like had the tickets for One Direction the next year, and like knew that they were supporting them. So like those are the 2 off the top of my head that I was like, I definitely knew those songs. I might have known 1 or 2 other ones, but I can't remember. This album came out. Ugh, my youth. Anyway, all of this to say, I do still very much like 5 Seconds of Summer. If you haven't ever actually listened to their more recent stuff, I really love 5 Sauce 5. That's their last album they have out. They are currently working on a new one. I'm hoping for next year. My second most listened to Spotify artist this year, behind Taylor Swift. Bad Omens by them, which is probably like my favorite song ever, I'm not gonna lie. That was, I think, my 3rd most listened to song, and that it was also like, I think it was in the top 5 last year as well. I don't know what else I'm gonna do. Oh, I need to wrap presents. It is the 23rd and I don't have any of them wrapped. So yes, so that's my plan for today. Hello, I have finished Rise of Empire. I always go to say The Rise, but I don't think there is a the. Pretty sure it says Rise of Empire by Michael J. Sullivan. Also, what is on my forehead? I have a red mark. Anyway, ignore it please. I'm giving it a 4 star. I think I liked it slightly more than the first one, but like I don't think it's gonna be like an all-time favorite series, but I do think it's gonna be like an overall like I really like this. It is a sequel, so it is harder to talk about it anyway, but like I enjoyed kind of getting a bit more of like seeing the princess kind of in the first book, and still in this book there's very much a lack of female characters and development, which I know like in Age of Myth, like basically I would say the main character is a woman. You kind of see a bit more of that in this book, and like I enjoyed she didn't just like become like super like all powerful and all of that, or you know, she's a princess, she's been raised kind of spoiled, like she knows how to ride a horse and all of this, but like I think I enjoyed seeing kind of like the fact that like she's tagging along with these 2 people who are always on the road, are doing really dangerous jobs and all of this, and she's like she wants to prove herself, and like I enjoyed the fact that we see that she struggles, because like I don't think it's realistic that oh she's just like able to do it because she's just that, like that isn't realistic, and that obviously wasn't what he was going for anyway, but I think in some books that can happen, and it's just like that's not realistic. It's a bit sad that there's like no other, like there's a couple of, I would say one like fairly significant side character isn't a woman as well. That's kind of it. Actually no, I'm lying, because we did get like another point of view in here that was a female character, and I actually did enjoy that, like, where her storyline is going, because like she is kind of like, I guess, one of her connections to the magic system, but like she doesn't really know, she only knows a very small amount about it from like years past, and so like we're only like kind of getting little bits, and I enjoy that. As I said, I was lying earlier when I said there's only 2 female character. There's not. We did get like the introduction of another character, and she's like a maid, and so like again kind of like a different, you know, class. So obviously like we have like the princess, and then we have like these two mercenaries, and now we just have like this woman and a girl. She works in the castle. She does her job. She just wants money. She wants to support her. I can't, kind of talking about her plotline would be a bit of a spoiler for the first one, but I enjoyed kind of like the development, and like later I enjoyed like getting to know her. At first, like that was like kind of very disconnected, but like when we kind of like got things coming together, and that was honestly like really funny. That's also coming together, and again like we kind of, as I said, like the whole series as a whole I think is trying to find the heir of this empire, and like we're definitely with Royce and Hadrian. We've gotten some like work towards that, and also there was like a thing that happened in this that I did not expect, like, or at least not in this book. And so I was like, oh, that changes the game. And so I'm very intrigued as to how everything will play out in the third book. And yeah, I just overall really enjoyed it. Like, as I said, I don't really have like really complicated and in-depth thoughts. Obviously it is a sequel, so it is harder to share them anyway, even if I did have them. Like, I just find it like a really engaging story. I have a really good time while reading them, and I overall like the characters. So yeah, a 4-star. I don't think I said that I gave it a 4-star, but I did, I think, say that. God, my memory is terrible. This video may have been abandoned. Apologies. But I'm now like 50% of the way through The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin, and I'm not loving it. I'm so sorry. It's definitely my least favorite that I've read from her so far, but I'm still not like disliking it. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a 3-star. All of my problems can all be linked back to the pacing of it, but we'll get to that. I suppose first I'll tell you what it's about. So this book, it follows, it's set in the real world, and in the real world, cities basically have an avatar, or in New York's case, it is going through basically this birth of the avatars, and it actually ends up with 5 for each of the boroughs. And there's this like strange creature that is about in the city, and the 5 avatars have to come together to try and stop it. I suppose they all have to come together to battle this creature. The problem is I'm 50% of the way in there, and only 3 of the characters have been introduced to each other. Like, we've gotten the introduction of all, I suppose, 6 of the characters. So like there's 5 boroughs, but then there's like 1 New York, as far as I can tell. So it's actually 6 characters. So from what I can tell, we've been introduced to all 6 characters separately, but only 3 of them have met up 50% of the way through, which, as I said, everything can connect back to the pacing, because obviously I'm having some problems with like the characters and the plot and like the world building, and it all connects to how the book is paced. I will say I don't have a problem with writing. The writing is definitely very different from her other books. Like, it is a lot more modern, but this is a lot more modern of a book. It's not my favorite writing style that I've seen from her. Obviously she really likes to play with her writing style, and it's something that I really love about her, because she plays with such fun little, like, so they're called interruptions, and so like they're all in like 3rd person, kind of like omniscient, and I enjoy those. I would much rather that writing style over what we have in general. First, I did think this book was going to be in 1st person present tense, which I do not like, really, if we're being 100% honest. If we're being honest, I don't really like present tense, which is what most of the book is towed in, except for those interruptions. It's not just, I don't know why, but it doesn't really jive with me unless it's like a romance book, or like Percy Jackson, which is a kid's book. But in like adult fantasy, it doesn't tend to be my preference. Like, there is books that I like that have been written in it, but I generally prefer past tense, and if possible 3rd person, but and also depending on the book, if it's like one point of view, for example, like Fitz from the Farseer trilogy, like that's one point of view, it's 1st person but it's past tense, so like I do like it when it's like that. But like present tense, it's not my favorite. It's not something that's going to like completely stop me from loving it, but it doesn't, like, I guess it kind of takes me a bit more to get into it, and I don't know what the reasoning behind that in my brain is, but it is just a personal preference thing. My brain doesn't like it as much. Obviously, this is like modern day. It's New York. Like, obviously, very different writing, very different way of talking and all of that. Let's talk about how like the pacing kind of affects everything in this book. So like at first I thought maybe like, how do I say this? Okay, so first I thought maybe like, oh, the themes, like, you know, obviously like discrimination, all of that kind of stuff, like multiculturalism, all of that stuff, which those are all themes that we see in her books anyway. At first I was like, oh wow, she's really like on the nose with it, but then I did kind of like reflect on that. I was like, is it on the nose, or is it just that because it's set in the real world, I already have expectations for the world building because it's Earth, and like I know how people are. I see the internet. I might not be American, but and whereas like in, you know, the 50s and in 100,000 Kingdoms, you have to you get painted the landscape and the world, and you get, you know, showed, oh, the politics, how these different groups interact and all of this. Whereas because it's contemporary, I already know, or have an idea anyway, because I won't pretend to be all knowing about how America works. There's a kind of pacing thing, but I do think, as I said, I do actually think that's not necessarily a pacing thing, more of a, well, there's not really much world building to be done with that aspect of it, because we know. But there is world building to be done with this creature. Literally, we have not found anything. All we keep getting is, it's a creature. There's tentacles. We can see them, but nobody else can. It's like, give me more. More, please. Just a little more. It's moving like really fast, but also way too slow. The story keeps moving nearly back and forth. So obviously, I told you the plot. We're waiting for all of these people to come together and then defeat this creature. But the problem is, so like we got introduced to the first character, and then we have not seen that character since. And then we get introduced to our second character. We spend a lot of time with them, and we build up to them going out to find our second burrow. Timeline-wise, we're doing like this timeline, like when they become the avatars, leading up to meeting, and then we're going back, leading up to when they're meeting, and then we introduce a third character. And so now these two characters are together, and we don't see them together to build that like kind of dynamic, get to know them better. We are now instead jumped to character number 3, and we are getting their backstory, how they became the Avatar. All I can think of is Avatar: The Last Airbender. Kind of want to rewatch it. Anyway, and then we're leading up. They meet these two characters, and then I assume what's going to happen again is we're going to jump back, and so we spent 50% of this book, but we are constantly going back in time. So we're not moving the story forward. Like, we're just going back, getting to the introduction of these characters, and then meeting up with the others. But like, because of the fact we're jumping back, we didn't get to see these two characters. Like, we saw them meet and like a little bit of them together, but then we jump to this other character, we're getting to know them. And so we don't get to see how these two characters work together or get to know each other. And so like, I'm not attached to any of these characters. Like, I don't necessarily think 6 is a lot of characters. Maybe in a book that's like just over 400 pages, might be pushing it, I guess. But like, it's definitely not, I mean, considering we're halfway through, we have 3 of them together. And like, it's not enough time, I feel, to get to know them, to feel for them, to root for them as a group, to want them to, you know, save the world or whatever. Like, that's not going to happen. And I like to have an understanding of my characters at least, and, you know, like really get to know them. And like, that's not going to happen in this book because of the way the back and forth jumping. And that also, that's kind of, I think, what's affecting the pacing and also the plotting. Because like, as I said, like, this is like a day has happened. So like, so much has happened, nothing has happened. Hello, so, what am I talking about? Oh, the city we became by N.K. Jemisin, and I didn't love this as much as I have her other books. Giving it a 3-star. It's still like, I would say a high 3-star, but kind of everything I said at the 50% update, I kind of knew at that point that it was too late for me to get really invested. I was hoping that maybe like it would pick up towards the end and I would start to like it more, but it just didn't. If I'm being 100% honest, I feel like this felt like a prologue, a really long prologue. It was literally these characters getting them together. That was it, which I don't necessarily think is a bad thing, because like I have liked books before about this. I've had this discussion, this is probably years ago, where I was talking, obviously I would say most series nowadays follow the pattern of like, let's say it's a trilogy, we'll follow like book one has a plot by itself, I would say, and then but like it introduces elements of like the wider world, politics, like you get the little like moments of something's going on, you know, but it's like only the introduction of the big plot, but there is usually like one plot to get you through. And then the second book, sometimes it sticks with like it has its own, but it really starts to build on those like overarching elements, or sometimes you really just like go full force into the like overarching plot. And then usually in the third book, I would say is like almost always like the main plot that we've been building towards. For example, one that I can think of is Black Sun, that series by Rebecca Roanhorse. I feel like that is one continuous story. Both of the books 4 stars. I know a lot of people didn't like the second book as much because they thought nothing happened in it, but to me it felt like one of those stories where it's just, we're starting here and we're just, instead of like having our own plot, like we have like our overarching, we have like big plot, and then we have big plot but like building on this. It just feels like it's one line. I haven't actually finished that series, but like it's just like one plot for the 3 books. Anyway, yeah, so The Color Band by Rebecca Zahavi would be another one that I feel similar to, where it's just like it doesn't really feel like there's like their own plots. It feels like it's one story spread out over 3 books, and I feel like that's kind of like, I mean, the plot of this book was introducing the characters and bringing them all together. Does that make sense? So yes, so those are my feelings on it. So basically the exact same as I felt at the halfway update. Hello there. So I'm 50%. Well, actually I think I'm a bit more than 50% of the way into The Angel of Crows by Catherine Addison, and I'm liking it. But I'm also like surprised that I'm liking it. So that's why I'm surprised that I'm liking it, because like I've given all of her books 4 stars. It's like not surprising. But if you didn't know, this originally started as Sherlock wingfic. Source, the author's note. I've read some fanfiction in my time. I'm not as big into it as I used to be. Occasionally I'll go through a phase where I'll just like take like, I think maybe like every couple of months I'll just like all of a sudden like get this strong urge to read like a load, and then like I'll do that for like a week and then I'll forget about it again. But I like the wingfic stuff, never really read that kind of stuff. And also I've never really read Sherlock fanfiction. I have watched the movie and like the most recent movies, and I've watched the BBC adaptation obviously, and I've watched, what's the like Americanized version of it? Elementary. It has Lucy Liu in it. I've never read the books. I have gone to the Sherlock house while I was over in London because I wanted to, and I do want to read the books, but also I'm like afraid of classics, so you know, will I, won't I? Anyway, so all of this to say, like, I'm reading Sherlock fanfiction. I'm really liking so like that's why it's surprising, is the fact that it's Sherlock fanfiction, and I'm not the biggest Sherlock fan. I like it, not like my favorite thing of all time, but I like it. And yeah, and also it's fanfiction which like obviously there's some great fanfiction out there, like let's not lie. There's also a lot of really bad fanfiction out there, let's also not lie. I shouldn't really be surprised that it's like well written and stuff, because it's Catherine Addison. She's an incredible writer. So I think the writing style, it's both very like, it feels very like timely, like does feel very like, I haven't read the original Sherlock stories as I said, but like it does like try and keep in line with that time, well, probably modernizing it a little bit, but like it's extremely readable, but also like it does kind of bring you back to the time period. As I said, her writing is always amazing, and I think what I love about her writing, and it's the same in The Goblin Emperor and The Witness for the Dead and The Grave of Stones and all of those books, is she takes, like, as I said, like there's angel walking around and vampires and hellhounds and blah 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 blah, and like she has these magical things, and like she is building up these magical elements. They're not just like thrown in there. Like she's like going into the politics of these different creatures and all of that. So like it's not as though it's just like there and not explained. Like she is explaining it, but like she'll have all of these magical things, and yet she will write something and it is so mundane and yet so engaging, like, but stronger than that. Like just truly like captures my attention fully. And like that nearly sounds offensive, just be like, she writes really mundane stories, but incredibly. And like it nearly sounds offensive, but like for me, I love that about her stories. It's, to me, it's so much fun because like it's Sherlock and Watson, except those aren't their names. So it's, I suppose I should tell you the synopsis. Like, so we follow Dr. Doyle, and Dr. Doyle has returned from Afghanistan and obviously finds himself in Baker Street with an angel called Crow, and there's like a lot of like mystery around Crow about whether Crow is going to be a fallen angel and all of that stuff. It does seem to be like following the books, but like changing them slightly, obviously, to make it #1 fantasy and also like, you know, keep you on your toes. I would love it to actually read them just to compare them to this. I do want to read them anyway someday, but like as I said, this does kind of bring them up the TBR a bit. And yeah, so yes, so that's the synopsis. But as I said, like, so it's just them solving mysteries, all that stuff. So like, and as I said, like, which in itself isn't like boring, but like the way she does it is like, it's very much just following the process. And you know, there's all of these magical creatures and it's just so matter of fact, and I love it. Like it just works for me so well. And as I said, I wouldn't necessarily say like if you like The Goblin Emperor you're gonna like this. Don't necessarily think so. Like it's very different. Like as I said, like yes, we are getting some politics and stuff of like, oh, the vampires, and this is how the vampires work and all of this, and oh, this is how the angels work, and you know, being excommunicated basically and all of this. But like we are getting development of that stuff, but it is primarily like Sherlock fanfiction. I don't know who this book is for, but I am enjoying it, so like I do recommend. Max Gladstone on the front of the cover. I feel like their review says it pretty well. At 1, like comfortable and fresh. I feel like that is what this book is. Comfortable and fresh. Like it's like familiar, but also like I really love the way that she's twisting it. So yes. Now I'm gonna go finish it because it's almost the new year and I have 2 books I want to finish before it. So yeah. I have finished The Angel Crawls. I actually finished it like nearly a week ago. So sometimes tangent. Sometimes I think about what I want to say so much that I think I have filmed myself saying it. And I think that is a case of what has happened here. That I thought about filming the clip so much that I convinced myself I had until I was editing this. And then I was like, oh wait. So this is one of my last books of 2024. Welcome to 2025. This will be the first video. Woo. Coming soon will be my best books, my worst books. If you have a preference in what order you would like to see them. I think my bullet journal is set up. And then, oh, ranking every single book that I read. I have the rankings done. I need to just like look once over them one more time to make sure I'm confident that this is the way it's gonna go. But back to the book. I have too much more to add from what I said in the first one. Like it's kind of weird, but I really like it. Like it really is, like it's Sherlock Holmes fanfiction, and it's really good sound fanfiction. So if you want really good fanfiction, give it a go. There was a couple of elements that like that got introduced, and I really wanted kind of like more of a discussion about them, kind of like gender stuff that I wanted there to be more of a discussion on, and it just kind of like was like introduced and then brushed aside. But like that's my only like main complaint, I would say. I'm not sure if I said I was giving it a 4-star, but I am. That's not that big of a complaint. Just like a fun time. It was like, as I said, like it's both like a very familiar feeling because like it's Sherlock Holmes, like even if you only watched the TV show or watched one of the movies or something like that, or if you have read the books, like it's, and like also like it's Victorian England and all of this, so like it's very familiar. But also like I really enjoyed the way she played with like all of these different magical creatures, kind of like introducing, like yeah, some of it is lore that we've heard time and time again, but some of it was like new or like little twists to it that I just really had a fun time with. So yeah, so that's like all I can really say is that like I had a really fun time. Obviously the third book in the companion series to the Goblin Emperor is coming out in March, and like I'm excited for that. I think that her writing's really good. Like there's no doubt to me. And it's the same with like N.K. Jemisin. I've read in this library blog, like the two of them, they're just like good writers. Like even though I didn't like The City We Became as much, and even though I also didn't like this as much as I've liked her other books as well, like I can't like say that they're poorly written. I mean, obviously I gave it a 4-star and I gave The City We Became a 3-star, so neither of them are bad ratings anyway. But like the two of them, like I'm like so easy to say. They're good writers. I feel like quality was right. Like even though, as I said, Bride's Vampire, I really enjoyed 4-star. I'm enjoying where the plot is going. I like the build up of that. The City Where Came, even though like I didn't get invested in that story, as I said, there's no denying N.K. Jemisin is a fantastic writer. And then this one was just like fun. So I feel like I've had a good mix. And I got through some 2024 books that I hauled, which is desperately needed. So yes. So thank you guys so much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, subscribe. And I will see you all in the next one.